Hey guys, it's been a while. My last upload was back in May of 2024. It is now September of 2025, so over a year. And lots has changed in the fish room. Mainly, you can hear it's pretty quiet in here right now. I turned off the air pump. All of my tanks are now run off of one pump, which is pretty cool. I've got a relatively robust water change system. It's semi-automatic, so I do have to add water in, but it drains automatically. And lots of new projects. So I'm just going to kind of walk you around the room, and we're going to go from there. So first we're going to start on the big rack. It's pretty much full at the moment as far as tanks. And what I wanted to show first was this air pump. So you can see I've got it set up on some 2x4s and a box for sound deadening because it is quite loud. It's actually quieted down now that it's broken in for about a week, but essentially it's just a big diaphragm pump. It is not a piston pump, but it does really well for my needs. You can see I've got it converted from the barb that it comes with to, I believe it's like 3/8 inch tubing, something like that, to, no, the clear is 3/8, so this is probably 1/4 inch, the blue, which is what it comes with. And then you've got some 3/8 clear flex tubing there. That's just vinyl tubing, super cheap on Amazon or Lowe's, wherever you want to go. I've got a barb, some clamps, and a splitter, and it runs under the rack. Ignore the wiring and the stupid lights. To here, where I've got a 10-piece gang valve and another splitter, which runs over to here for the second rack with another 10-piece gang valve and a splitter. And then over here, I haven't quite gotten the clamps in. I'm waiting on shipping, but basically we're gonna run some clamps around the top of the room so that that vinyl piece is pretty much tucked in. And then we're gonna have a third 10-piece gang valve over here. The reason I've got it unplugged for the video is even after it's quieted down and broken in, it's quite loud. So let me plug it in here. Horrible cameraman. And you can probably hear that it is quite loud. Now it is a little bit louder right now. Just anytime you unplug it and plug it back in, it seems to be louder for a few minutes. And the very first time I plugged it in, I thought I was going to return it because it got incredibly loud for the first few days. But after it warms up a little bit and breaks in, it's tolerable. Sounds like right now it's rattled. Yeah, see, it's kind of vibrating harder on something right now. Yeah, so that's kind of more what it sounds like normally. The vibration, I'm probably going to get a big piece of foam to lay all this stuff on. I just haven't made it to the craft store yet. But yeah, once you get the vibration under control and once it's broken in for about a week, it's actually pretty tolerable, and it pumps out tons of air. So I'm running, what's that, 5, 7, another 7 there, so that's 14, 15 tanks, and you can see I've really got the air flowing in a lot of these. And I think you can probably power a few more. This is, I believe, the 18-watt Aqua Miracle pump. It's like $60 on Amazon. So other than the noise level and it getting warm, I mean, it's not gonna burn you, but it is pretty hot. Other than those things, it's been a great purchase. So I only had it for about a week. Don't want to say go out and buy one, but so far it's pretty cool. As far as the actual fish tanks, other than my janky zip ties, there are a couple little tidbits I want to show you. For one, these lights are $7 at Menards. So if you don't have a Menards near you, it's just like kind of like a hardware store that's got the auto feeder's going off. It's kind of like a hardware store that's got a little grocery store attached to it. It's pretty cool. It's new around here in Kentucky. It's a Midwestern thing, I think. But yeah, these lights are $7. I believe they're 30 inches. They are LEDs and they are 5,000 Kelvin, so they're a little bit orangey. But the camera's doing a decent job. It looks pretty similar on the phone like it does in real life. But yeah, $7 a piece. So I'm lighting these 5 tanks for $21. And I've got 2 more down here. So what's that? $35, and it's lighting all of these tanks, and they do grow plants pretty well. So you can see these 2 down here are bare, and I just reset these not too long ago. But like the Anacris in this tank has gone insane. This tank not so much, but I have been doing a terrible job of dosing. This tank's kind of grown a bunch of algae because I just reset this one as well. So again, I'm doing a terrible job with this. But then you can see over here, it's growing Vallisneria, Elodia, stuff like that just fine. And Java Moss and Val is doing great over here. This tank down here, before I reset it, was literally corner to corner to corner to corner Vallisneria, like wall to wall. Like I pulled out one solid mat and filled up a 5-gallon bucket to the top with Val, and you can see that's all it was lighting it. So if you have a Menards in the area, highly recommend those lights. I cannot speak to whether or not they are super durable. I've had them up for about a year now, so let me unplug this pump. Yeah, that's better. I've had them up for about a year now, so they do seem to be pretty decent for a $7 light, but I don't know if they'll burn out at the 1-year mark, the 2-year mark, 3-year mark, or if they'll just keep on going forever. I'll try to link them in the description to see, but they are daisy chainable, so I don't know if you guys can see that. So you plug one in and you can plug in several more. I think it's up to 3 or 4 lights off of one outlet. Now, of course, whether you want to do that or not, I know there is some current and like electrical concerns with running all that off of one, but they're pretty low power lights, so I think it should be fine. I do have all of these running off of one, so every light, no, that's a lie actually, sorry about that. I do have this strip over here, so looks like these 5 lights are running off 3 plugs, and then this one power strip is plugged into a Casa Wi-Fi timer. So, but you can daisy chain them together, that's what I'm trying to say. The only issue I've had with these is that they don't really mount easily into a rack. You can use like ceiling hooks. This is not the same light, but it's an LED shop light. You can use ceiling hooks if you have the ability to install them. They're super easy. Over here, I'm not gonna have tanks up on this top. It's just too tall, the ceiling's too low. But I didn't really want to run the wire for the ceiling hook all the way down because I will have storage and stuff up there. So for me, zip ties were the best solution. I tried magnets. I tried putting some anchors into these. And just over time, just like, you know, with the anchors, every time I move the wood around, you move the lights, you have to take them out, which doesn't happen often, but it gets annoying, honestly. The magnets didn't really work. I couldn't find a good way to attach them to this, other than like zip ties. So at a certain point, I was just like, you know what? We're just gonna zip tie them, and it'll work or it won't. And so far, it's worked pretty well. So not a solution for everybody, but a good solution for me. The other thing that's probably changed since you guys have kind of tuned in with me here is I'm running a lot more auto feeders. So you can see I do have the Aquarium Co-op auto feeders. I'm running several of those. By several, I think I'm actually just using one these days. I'm using 2. There's a second one back there. They are definitely the better auto feeder out of the 2 models that I have. Unfortunately, they're a little bit pricey. I think they're up to like $40 now, 35, $40, but they have a built-in battery and they're a little bit more refined than the Chinese made ones I've got. That said, you know, I've got 16, 17 tanks going right now. If I want an auto feeder on every one of them, it's kind of hard to justify $40 a piece. So I have been trying out this auto feeder, and I'm terrible. I don't even know how to pronounce that, whatever that branding is. It's a basic Chinese auto feeder. seriously nothing special about it. That said, they run off of this little DC jack to USB, so they are USB powered technically. They can be programmed to be to feed either once every 24 hours, 12 hours, or 8 hours. And they do have a battery backup, not built in, but you can put, I think it's AA's in. I'm not choosing to do that, but you can. For me, so far they've been okay. The biggest issue I found is that you can't really use flake food in them. So I've had flake food in this one in the past. I don't anymore, because what happens is even if you don't have it anywhere near water, the flake food will get ever so slightly moist, and it'll collect in this little funnel type thing, and it'll clog and get real nasty. So I've been using pellets instead, and the pellets have actually been doing better for me. I think it's like a $20 auto feeder, so it's about half the price of the co-ops. For the price, I have a hard time complaining. I've actually got the boxes right here. Let's see. Terrible cameraman. This is the box. So again, I don't know how to even start to pronounce that brand, but just super basic. This is the AF 2020 standard. They do have I guess a Wi-Fi version of it. I did not bother because I don't need another app or whatever it's gonna be. But yeah. Biggest complaint is the flake food thing. And then throw this back up in here. That's in the floor forever. Kind of see my fish supply closet. Got some vinegar eel cultures back there, stuff like that. Really dying for some more storage space, but that's coming. But anyway, yeah, they're not bad. The flake food issue, and then I really wish you could set the times at which they feed. Because basically you hit the 24-hour button and it'll feed at that moment, and then 24 hours from then forever. So if I just hit this, it's gonna feed onto nothing because I've got it set there. I'll clean that up here in a minute. And you can see I've got it set to feed a relatively reasonable amount there. And now it is currently 5:48 p.m. so it's going to feed that amount at 5:48 p.m. tomorrow too. And same thing for the 12 and 8 hours. It'll just feed it on a 12 or 8 hour loop from whatever time you set. So basically you have to be here. If you want it to feed at 6 o'clock, you have to be in here at 6 o'clock to hit the button, and it'll remember it so far just fine. But yeah, so again, the co-ops version, more refined. But honestly, I don't know that it's worth the extra $20. If you've got the $20 to spend, for sure, that's better. But if you're trying to do a whole fish room for cheap, it might be worth it to explore the cheaper options. That said, if you've got 2 or 3 tanks, there's really no reason to cheap out. That said, let's see if I can get this guy. Here's a little rosy loach. They're super cryptic. I've had this group for a year. I got them from Dan's Fish. Yeah, see, that's a girl. But there's a small group of them in here. I think I started with 10 and I'm down to 8. I've been trying to breed them and they just don't seem to want to do it in the tank, so I'm probably going to have to separate them out. But that kind of brings us into the fish portion of this. So I've got 4 10-gallon tanks here. These 2 tanks are mutt guppies. So I just finished doing a Metro Cleanse treatment on this tank. They had some internal parasites going on. Not anymore. You can see I've got a handful over here. And I've got a handful over here. I was actually... These tanks were full. And when I mean full, I mean 70 to 80 guppies a piece. This one had black metal lace only, and this one was mutts. At a certain point, I got super tired of just seeing black metal lace guppies. They're super cool, super nice, but just not really what I want out of a guppy. So I sold all of the black metal lace except for just a couple females. You can see one of the females there getting harassed, but except for just a couple little ones. I kept a few just to mix in for the lace pattern. But yeah, just mutt guppies, not doing a whole lot there. This is the rosy loaches. Of course, we're probably never going to get a good look at the males. You can kind of see them running around back there. Not the most colorful fish, but super cool. You've got like a 5 or 10 gallon tank, throw a couple in there. Not something you would probably ever see a ton of, but cool fish still. In here is a single. Of course, she's not going to come out. There's a single blue platy female. Now, I got these off of Aquabid last year. I think that's a good shot of her. And I've got a small colony going, but they're just not quite doing what I want them to do. So with that, give me just a minute. Sorry for the interruption. These guys were being rowdy. You're not going to be rowdy anymore, are you? Are you going to be good? Yeah, you're going to be good? Okay, well, I'm going to finish the video. Thank you. Alright, anyway, the neon platies just weren't quite exploding like I wanted them to. Like, I was wanting lots more by now. So I moved her over here. This is one of the original females I got. So she's probably mid-age, nearing the end of her like reproductive times, but like still a super nice fish, and I think she's gonna give me at least another couple batches. So moved her in here. She's gonna drop fry for me, hopefully, eventually. And these guys are in this tank. You can see I've got a handful. I've probably got like 15 or 20. I started with, I think, 6 fry. So yeah, I've got more than I started with. The males get a decent amount of orange on their dorsal fin. Pretty nice fish. They're in this 20 high now, but eventually they're going to be going down into this 40 breeder, which is currently empty. And yeah, they're going to kind of live down there. This is red and black fairy addis that I've had for about 3 or 4 weeks with a chunky bristlenose back there. Just my one lone bristlenose. I just got these from a local store not too long ago. We're fighting some ick, so should be 5 in there. I'm seeing 4 doing really well. The 5th one, last day or 2, hasn't really been super active, so I don't know if she's just kind of shy or if she's not doing so good. You can see this female, super fat, but kind of got that clamped tail fin. And if she'll get close enough here, you can see, yeah, just some, you might be able to tell it. Got some like spots on the tail. I've tried API Ick Cure, which is just a medication I had on hand. It's no good. Didn't work for me. I should have just gotten Ick-X. But I'll probably just treat with salt at this point. Salt always works for me. Probably going to do like 1 tablespoon per 2 gallons. So about, what's that, 10 tablespoons. I've already got a couple tablespoons in here. I just always run a little bit in my live air tanks. But yeah, a couple more tablespoons of salt and these guys should straighten up. Hopefully that 5th one will pull through. Down here is a 37-gallon extra tall with lots of glare and a slight green water problem. I was using this to grow out some angels, which I've moved to the 75-gallon. Right now, I've just got 3 or 4 female guppies. This will eventually just be a mud guppy tank. So once it's a little bit better established, you see them swimming around up there. Once it's a little bit better established and once the valve starts growing in a little bit better, I'm gonna move these guys from these 2 tanks down there and just have 1 large mud guppy tank. And these 2 tanks can be used for a project or something like that, you know. I'm not super sure what I'm gonna do over there, but having 2 10 gallons devoted to mud guppies instead of just 1 bigger tank, it's not really doing it for me. So I can use those tanks for breeding or something like that. I just saw a really bright red male loach here, but of course they're gonna run. I think that's a male there, but he's not as bright as the other guy. But yeah, these are kind of like cherry barbs. The females are kind of brown gold, and the males will be anywhere from like a light pink to a dark red. So, like I said, cool fish. Over here on this other rack, you've got the neon blue platies with lots of Vallisneria, some pothos growing out the top there. This is one of my favorite swordtails. Actually, I kept them as a kid, and they've just always been one of my favorites. And that is a pineapple sword. So you can see a bunch of fry up here at the front. The parents are super cryptic for some reason. You can see the female way in the back there. She's super chunky. But yeah, I just bought a pair. That's all that... These guys actually came from PetSmart, believe it or not. But that's all that PetSmart had when I got them. And they've done well. You can see the pair of them there, male and female. They've done well for me. They just don't like me. Now the fry that have grown up in this tank, where I've started to grow up in this tank, seem to do just fine. So hopefully it's just those fish. But yeah, one of my favorites. They will probably eventually get moved into like this tank up here once it's in a more suitable location. I would have already set it up, but like it's tall. It's probably like 7.5 feet up in the air, maybe like 7 foot maybe, and then you've got like 6 inches to the ceiling. So tanks up there are possible, but super not fun. And in the next tank over, the last 20 high, we've got some endlers. I got these at the beginning of the summer. They're just distorted. That guy got some orange and some green, super cool looking. And then there's like a scarlet flame back here, and a couple females. There are 2 rounds of fry in here, so you can see that's round 1. They're about an inch long now, and then round 2 would be, there's a bunch of them in here. I just can't find them right now. Like this guy, where it's never gonna focus. And they were born like, I don't know, like Monday before last, so they're about a week old. Now this tank is pretty barren in plants. Luckily these guys aren't eating fry. There's really not a ton of substrate in here. So I tried Vallisneria, and it did some and then never really took off from there because I can't really get root tabs in there just with a 1/4 inch of substrate or whatever I've got. So I'll pull that and all this algae out eventually and do some like anacris or something like that. I think this 20 high is a great option for these endlers. There's also a couple amanos in there. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. We've got Snail Mountain here. I threw a algae tablet in there earlier, and yeah, they have definitely gone nuts. Speaking of which, in this guppy tank over here, we've got this easy snail collector. Aquarium Co-op makes them. I think they're like $10. I've caught probably close to 100 snails out of this tank. It's been in there for 2 days. You just put some food down in it, and the snails crawl in and can't really get back out. So far, working great. So if you have lots of snails and want like a cheap solution, $10 and a little bit of like a sinking fish food, and yeah, it will take care of it for you. But anywho, other than the snails, we have lots and lots of blue neos, blue shrimp in here. Now these are kind of a basic blue neo. I think they were sold to me as blue dreams, but it's not a super clean line. Like, some of them are really dark, like that guy, which I really like that guy. And then others are a little bit lighter, like those guys back there. That said, these guys do really well with the LFS for me. So whenever I take them into the local store, usually I'll bring 25 to 30 every couple of weeks, and they're gone within a couple days. So they do really well for me there. This is just some African dwarf frogs that I'm trying and failing to get some eggs out of. I feed them like crazy. I know I've got at least 1 female and 1 male in there. There's, I think, 7 or 8 in here. They've been in here for almost a year now, and they just don't make eggs. They constantly, let's call it, I find them constantly in amplexus. Sometimes I find them 3 deep, but they just they just don't make more. So I'm gonna keep on trying, but these guys might get like moved on or moved into like a display somewhere because I'm just not feeling keeping this tank with these frogs if they're not going to do what I want them to do. So yeah, over here are some cherry shrimp. You see a couple chunky ones there. I've had these guys for about 2 weeks. They were, I think, the third round of cherry shrimp I've tried. I just have had no luck with them. So I'm really hoping that these will take off for me. There is a female with eggs in there, so hoping any day to see some little baby shrimp. But yeah, I actually don't super love these cherries, but they're red, and so far they seem to be pretty lively. So hoping that they continue to do well. And over here are some golden white clouds. I've got, I think, 5 in there. They're pretty old at this point. They were separated. They were separate when I first got them. I got a group of 6. They were outside in the tub. They never made more. I brought them back in. I tried to breed them then. They never made more. So I eventually moved them in with my gigantic school of white clouds over here. And kind of just in the past, I don't know, a week or so, I've put them in here. I'm going to give these guys one more shot of breeding. And if they don't breed again for me, I'll probably just mix them in with the rest of it and they'll just never get to breed. So hoping that they do well, but at this point I'm not holding out hope. Over here, besides all the glare, we have some of the angels that were in that 37. You can see there's kind of a couple wild type. You get kind of almost a koi angel, but not really a koi. These cories are going nuts on that sponge filter. And then, super hard to see in this tank, especially with the glare, but there are a couple marble and black ones in there. So, total of 6. I bought them at like quarter size. I think, again, from PetSmart, because I couldn't find them at the local store, and they couldn't get them at the time. And I've been growing them up, and they needed a bigger tank. This was the flower horn tank. Unfortunately, he passed away about 2 weeks ago. So he just kind of one day woke up and he wouldn't eat, which is super unlike him. And he just kind of declined, and there was not a whole lot I could do for that. But yeah, then we've got all these white clouds, which are white clouds that I bred. I put a group of like 8 out in a 40-gallon tub with no aeration, no filter, nothing for a summer, and pulled out like 150. So yeah, I didn't even really feed them. They just like multiplied. They do really well. I cannot get rid of them locally. I've offered them for free. I cannot get rid of them. I sold a few, but yeah, I've sold like 40, and I've had a few losses. Just, you raise a bunch of fish, you're going to lose a few. And I still have like 75 that I moved into this tank. This was in the 40 breeder that's empty right now. And mixed in here with them, there are a couple like random schooling fish. Like this is a lone female rosy barb that she's the last one of the school. I might throw a couple more in there. Not sure. I really like rosy barbs. I just don't know if that's what I want to do. And then there is a few pearl danios in there too. So you can see those guys there. That's a big female. And a carry tetra. So the pearl danios were like a failed, like, oh yeah, they look pretty cool in pictures, and I got them, and they just never really colored up. You got to have the right lighting on them. Like if you shine like a flashlight on one, they look sweet. But in a tank, like even with high lighting, low lighting, the light has to hit them just right, and they have like orange and purple and blue. But most of the time, that's just not what happens. And then the carry tetra is the lone survivor of a school that we got like 3 years back. They lived with a turtle. They did well until the turtle started murdering them. My bad. It was a musk turtle. I thought it would be fine. It wasn't. But yeah, he's the last one. And then there's this pack of green quarries here. I'm gonna try to breed those guys. I'm gonna try to breed the angels too. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. Hoping to get a bunch of Vallisneria. We got a couple crypts up here that are just now starting to grow back in. And yeah, if you notice too, this 75-gallon tank at 68 degrees in here, we keep it pretty cool. And that is a 50-watt heater. And if we check our check our thermometer, focus, that says about 74, 75 degrees. So it's not 78, but everybody's doing good. So these white clouds, 74, 75 is a pretty comfortable warm temp for them, I think. I mean, that outdoor tub that I bred them in was getting like 82, 83, like every day during the summer with no air stone, and they were doing great. So yeah, they're cool water fish, but they can tolerate warm temps just fine. And the angels do really well at that 74, 75 degree temperature. So, you know, I've had really good luck with these. The green cories and the Danios and stuff, I was actually keeping those unheated at 68 degrees for like 6 months. And they did great. So did the rosy barbs. So despite this tank being not the most conventional stocking in the mix, I'm actually pretty okay with that. And of course, I do understand that the angels might eventually pick off some minnows, which again, I'm okay with that. I can't get rid of them. Super cool fish, but not one that I would really want to fill a 75-gallon tank with, to be honest. Love them, but the tank's a little bit drab, so I'll move them on as I can, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that was a really long-winded update, but yeah, I think that about covers it for me. I'm really considering, if I pan over to my mess here, adding in a few more tanks over here. Now that I've got that big air pump, I don't want to block the window. I had like a computer desk and like an old TV here, but I'm going to take all that stuff out. I already have taken some of it out, and I might do like more stuff like this, where it's like one tank or a handful of tanks on one of these heavy-duty tables, so that, you know, I don't really need a big rack over here, I don't think, especially where they stick out so far from the wall. This is a pretty tiny room, and I don't need to make it feel super cramped. It's already pretty cramped, so. But put like maybe a couple like 12-inch deep tables, maybe 18-inch deep tables over here, one here, and then maybe one there. Or I might just put like a storage rack there, like a shelving unit, and kind of doing that. I think that'll complete the space for me, especially put that line up. And eventually, it's probably happening like this weekend actually, where this trash can is, that's going to be a dehumidifier, just to kind of help the air conditioner out, because it's been getting pretty humid in the cooler months. But yeah, I think that about does it. And hopefully it won't be a year and a half before I update again. It's kind of hard to get in here and think of what to talk about. You know, sometimes there's all kinds of things to show, and other times there's not. And sometimes I just plain don't feel like, you know, sneaking away and pulling out the phone. So, but yeah, I'll let you go, and thanks for tuning in.